Damokeyes, how you doing? Damian Keys here. Welcome to the hashtag Ask Damo show. We are on number 7. This is the show where you get to ask questions, mostly about musicians, music industry, bands, distribution, social media, and I will do my best to answer them on the spot. And what's brilliant about it is I might change my mind next week. I might feel completely different, but it's how I feel right now, and that's what's great about a live show. We're also live on Instagram. We are live on Facebook. On the wheels of steel, behind the camera is Mr. Morgan M. James.
Hello guys.
You're asking some questions. You've got some good questions?
We do have some good questions, Damian. Are you ready for the question?
I'm ready. Let's roll. Let's do this. All right.
Question number 1.
Yes.
What are your thoughts on Article 13?
Okay.
And that is from Matt Oak.
Okay, so Article 13. In case anyone doesn't know what Article 13 is, Article 13 is actually a slang term. So the European Union are proposing to pass a copyright law, which has many articles in. I think there's 17 of them, but 1 or 2 of them are a little sketchy for us creatives. So it's Article 13 that is creating the controversy on all this. So in case you don't know what it is, effectively, the copyright law is trying to protect copyright materials. So effectively, when you make something, it's saying if someone else uses that, that's not allowed. Totally fair enough. However, in doing it, what they're actually doing is they're saying what happens right now with YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Snapchat, all of them, is if someone uploads a piece of content which they don't own, then that user is responsible. So if they get a copyright strike, that's where you get a copyright strike on YouTube. Someone says, hang on, that's not yours. That goes against the user. That goes against the person uploading the piece of content. The new bit of law is suggesting that the responsibility will be of the platform as soon as it gets uploaded. So if I upload something which has someone else's music on it, it's basically saying, well, that's YouTube's fault or that's Facebook's fault, and it's not the user's fault. Now, there is a massive debate at the moment of how this is going to be policed. And I think that's the big issue, how this is going to be policed, because there are 400 hours of videos uploaded to YouTube every single minute. How can you possibly police that? We are getting to a stage now when you've got the technology of things like Shazam to be able to check music to see if it's there. But we're not just talking music, we're talking visuals, we're talking music. I mean, if you think about the types of content that this could cover, we're talking memes, they're out because that's pretty much all memes are pretty much copyrighted and then go viral. We're talking potential vlogs, because again, if we can't police it, how do we know that the music within the vlog isn't going to be someone else's music? We're even talking potentially even legitimate music videos. If you look at the biggest music video on YouTube, I think it's Despacito. That would no chance have been able to be uploaded because of the amount of remixes and stuff that's in Despacito, so that would have been taken down. So effectively it becomes, how is this going to be policed? Now this hasn't gone through yet, Article 13 hasn't gone through yet, or this sort of copyright law bill hasn't gone through yet, and it is only in Europe. But a couple of days back, it basically had the nod, a bit of a nod to go ahead. So it's now going to the next stage. It looks pretty ominous. What could this mean? Well, what this could mean is if you look at traditional TV, it cannot be policed by YouTube, let's say. So in which case it's going to have some kind of middleman, like for example, if you look at the aggregators that put music onto Spotify, or more importantly, if you look at the production houses that put content onto TV. You can't just upload video straight to TV, and it has to go through a bunch of rigorous tests, and these production houses have to have legal teams. So potentially, I mean, this is a worst case scenario, but potentially there'd have to be some kind of almost record deal style production houses where YouTubers are actually signed to in order to get their content up live on YouTube. Now, if that happens, we're all screwed. That's pretty much the end as we know it, because not all of us are going to be able to upload. Now, the issue we've got here is we're in 2018, we're about to hit 2019. We are not in the age of TV anymore. TV, you know, is dead. Let's face it, it's pretty much dead. The average viewer of BBC One is 61 years old, and the average viewer of BBC Two is 62 years old. You know, the average viewer of Channel 4 is like 59. People are watching Netflix, people are watching YouTube, people are actually going out of their way not to watch terrestrial TV. So TV's dying. Now that's fine. TV is a very different way. You cannot just upload things to TV like you can upload things to social media. Now YouTube is the one who are kind of making the biggest deal about it. If you look at Susan Wojcicki, is that right? Yeah. Susan Wojcicki. So she's quite high up in YouTube, and she's making a big deal on YouTube about this. She said, look, we've got problems. If this goes through, thousands of people could lose their jobs. And again, this is European Union only. So it is yet to be seen how this will go down. But my thoughts on it are, this is potentially a huge problem. And in trying to protect people with their copyright material, but having a blanket act which doesn't fit in with 2018 technology, you know, that act would work in 1950 to 1999. But now that act doesn't fit in anymore with the creatives, the copyright, the Freedom of Speech Act, all of those things. It doesn't quite fit in as a blanket rule to where it is now. So we might be seeing something, we might be seeing a big game changer. So my advice on what to do is, if this goes through, we've probably got 2 years. So you have 2 years. I would build an audience like you've never built an audience before, because you've got 2 years to get your name out there. You've got 2 years to build that brand, and you don't know what's going to happen next. So make hay while the sun shines. This is a golden era. Use that. Like, if you've got that little bit of extra budget, put it in there. If you've got that little bit of extra time, make more content. If you've got time to actually have more conversations, do that. This is the time to make hay while the sun shines. That's it, isn't it?
Yeah. What would it mean for like people doing covers on YouTube?
No chance.
No chance.
Absolutely no chance. So, you know, covers, no. If you've got things like even where people sort of do sort of diss tracks, or they're doing parody tracks, they're out. You know, how can you possibly police that much content of a vlogger? So even vloggers like Casey Neistat, massive vlogger, but Casey Neistat is not just using his own material. Sometimes he will put clips of other vloggers or other TVs or videos into his vlogs. He's also using music which may or may not be written specifically for his video. But all of a sudden it's going to need a contract, because if you're taking a piece of music and then afterwards they say, hang on a minute, that I didn't give that to you, so where's the paper trail? Where's the policing? It's huge. Like, it's potentially colossal because there isn't a way of policing this. We don't have these systems in place. So scary times.
Right.
Okay.
Question number 2.
Yes.
All right. What are your thoughts on bands playing with backing tracks? When does it work/not work? And that is from I Horseshoehan.
Good reading of the name, I Horseshoehan. I love this question because this is one of those questions that pop up where a lot of people don't like things like backing tracks because it's not 100% live. It's the same thing as auto-tune and a bunch of other things. But let me tell you a story, okay? I left Swansea, came to England. That makes it sound like I came in a boat. I didn't. I came in a car. But I moved to England when I was a kid. I didn't have rich parents. I went to music college. There was only one way I could fund it because I have no qualifications. The only one way I could figure out how to fund it was music. That was it. And the way I funded my way through college was myself and a guitarist, singer, and we would go out and do these duo gigs in, like, you know, pubs, social clubs, working men's clubs. We'd be playing 3 to 5 times a week. We did ferries, like Dover to Calais, England to France, ferries backwards and forwards, where we do every weekend, and we'd be performing for 6 or 7 hours a day for 3 days, just to keep our heads above water so we could afford to actually live. If I'd have put together a 5-piece band, and I'm talking covers, but I'll come on to originals. If I had put a 5-piece band together at that time, I wouldn't have been able to sustain it because I wouldn't have been able to get the gigs, because we were looking at small pubs, small clubs, small budgets, probably 150 quid a night, where we get 70 quid each at the time for playing 2 to 3 hours. If you then look at also the original side of this, if you're going to take something on tour, every time you add in a member of a band, it gets expensive. And so if you look at I went to see Keith Urban the other day. He's a country guitarist, phenomenal guy. He's one of those kind of legends. And there were 5 guys in his band, and every one of them could sing lead as well as Keith Urban, like phenomenal. And they all had these like little solo pieces where they play some guitar and sing. They were phenomenal. Why is that? Because you can't afford to take 2 backing vocalists on tour, so therefore everyone sings. It's just a prerequisite. Then you've got the bass player who stood on stage and he's playing keyboards. Then the guitarist stood behind playing some keyboards, some percussion and some guitar. Because taking people on tour now is expensive. It's very different to what it used to be. Petrol, expensive. Hiring gear, expensive. Staying in hotel rooms, expensive. Hiring venues, expensive. So therefore, cutting costs becomes important. But you don't want to compromise on the show. You want to give people the best show they can possibly get. So why not start to thinking about how you can not cut corners, but how you can cut costs, but at the same point keep the show absolutely amazing. And if you're looking at your band going, we can't sing, like we've got 4 people in a band, 1 person sings, the other people tone deaf. Is it that bad to have a little bit of BVs on there to help? Is it that bad to have that extra little bit of guitar to really tighten things up? Or if you can't find the keyboard players, because let's face it, keyboard players are difficult to actually keep on tour. Is it that bad to have a little bit of keyboards in the back with your drum playing to a click? I don't think so. I think it just adds to the overall sound. Is it for everybody? No. But for me, I would always be looking at, and this is the same thing with social media, what is the crowd getting out of this? And I want the crowd to leave going, oh, it's the best gig ever. So therefore, it has to sound and be amazing. And therefore, backing tracks can make that happen. They can take a little bit of the live stuff out of it if everyone's playing to a click, but really good musicians will be able to add in the creativity and the energy at the same point as playing along to a click. So for me, I'm a big fan of this, but I think that story for me is not only did I pay my way through college, but I did that for years, you know, and it was how I got good, because if you can imagine it, you know, this is back in the day, a long time ago, this is back in the day where we didn't play 2 45s or 2 60-minute sets. We played 3 hours and we'd have a 10-minute break in between, but we'd play for 3 hours a night. You do that 3 times, 4 times, 5 times a week. I'm playing to a drum machine, effectively, because we had a guitarist, a bass player, and a singer with BVs, playing to a drum machine 3 or 4 hours a night live. What do you think that does to your playing? It made me a fucking machine. No, really, I am that good. But yeah, that's what it does. And so backing tracks can enhance, but they also are a necessity sometimes. So for me, I have nothing against backing tracks. I don't think they take away from anything. I think they are a tool that can be used to enhance the product.
Right, question number 3 is from Ren_Frost.
You got that one?
Yeah, and they say, how much does where you study matter? I worry where I'm stuck will affect my goals.
Where you study music, and does that matter? I would say it's the most important question, because everyone knows how I feel about, well, maybe you don't, but how I feel about music education. This is a music education channel. I've been in music education since I was 19 years old. I started off as a bass teacher at ACM at 19. I started my own university in BIM with some friends when I was 23. I've been doing this channel for a few years. My whole life is revolved around music and music education especially. So I'm a huge fan, but music education doesn't traditionally need to be a degree. It can be. It could be YouTube. It could be a degree. It could be an MA. It could be many, many different things. Mentors to me mean so much more than a piece of paper. So this week I've been hiring. A new PA, and I've had about 100 CVs through. And I need to do a piece on CVs because most people are just horrific at writing CVs and cover letters. I very rarely look at the degree. If they've got an MA, I'm like, oh, that's quite impressive. But if they've got a degree, I want to know that they got a first and they got it from Oxford. Otherwise, I'm like, what else can you give me? For me personally, what else can you give me? I think we're getting to a time now where you've got a degree, brilliant. Unless you say I've got a degree, but I studied with this place or I studied with these people, that you go, wow, I know those guys are good. I know they would not have let you get away with shit, because that to me is important. And so there's a thing called, this is getting technical about music education, but there is a thing in education called retention and achievement, which effectively means that a college course has to get you through the course in order to get the money that they are being owed, because obviously they get funding for students. And so therefore, if you don't finish the course, if you drop out, they don't get all the money. So they're really pushing you through. Now that isn't technically a very good way of doing this system, because what it means is colleges really need to get you through to the end. So let's face it, if you're sitting there with me and I just go, for fuck's sake, dude, that is not good enough. Do it better, because if you want a career in music, I'm telling you that what you're doing isn't good enough. Some people might take that as inspirational and they might go, yeah, I need to do it better. And some people might go, fuck you, and they might leave and all of a sudden it's gone. So there's this real history of having some amazing teachers that are prepared to tell you like it is, but there's also a system behind it saying, get them to finish the course, drag them along, kicking and streaming, finish the course. That to me is not conducive of where the music industry is, and also why we need everyone with a degree. What we need is people who have studied with individuals and mentors and teachers that I know and other people know that will make you into the musician that is going to be able to take on the music industry. So that's key. So the question is, does it matter? It matters beyond everything else, because you have two things when you're a starting musician, and that is what's your experience and what's your playing level. Now, your experience doesn't have to just be gigs. It can also be how you're studying, who you're studying. That goes along with your playing level. Those two things go together. No one's expecting a 19 or 20-year-old to have loads and loads of experience playing 1,000 gigs. That comes over 10 to 15 years. But what you do need is the experience that you're working on to be good. Every time you pick up that guitar, every time you pick up those drumsticks, every time you pick up that trumpet, you need to play and have someone go, wow, they're good, because they're setting themselves high standards, because their goals and their targets are actually being met and not just being pandered to get them to finish a course. So not necessarily, this is not just about courses, this is about music education, this is about mentors. This is why I'm such a fan of the one-to-one side. This is why I spend 2 to 3 hours a night going through YouTube comments, Facebook DMs, Instagram comments, Instagram DMs, Twitter comments, because I'm trying to actually work as much as I can, working with you on sort of one-to-one basis where I can. You need the same thing, but you need it on a daily basis from wherever you decide to go and study, because that is what will reach you or get you to reach the levels of industry standards. So we used to have a saying which was, don't care about the degree, we're aiming for a career in music, which is here. If you want to get your degree, the quality is here. This is degree, this is music industry standards. If we get you to here, then this should be a piece of piss. So we're aiming for here and we're going to get a degree on the way. That to me still sounds like the best plan, is we're aiming for the top end, and if we get a degree on the way, if we get an MA on the way, brilliant. But for me, where you go and who you study with, who's your mentor, who's not letting you get away with shit, and the quality that you are coming out of that place as is imperative. Nod. Yes, there's a nod, some nods.
Right, the final question.
The final question
is, what is your opinion about the guy that faked being famous on social media and booked a tour? And that is from @Aldolfinuela.
Good name, strong name. Okay, so if anyone hasn't heard about this guy, there's a guy who's called Threatin. I think his first name was Jared Threatin. American guy from Los Angeles who came to the UK and did a tour. Sounds normal, except in order to get that tour, he faked like everything. And I'm not just talking about he bought some Facebook followers. He faked everything. He built a record. It was incredibly intricate. He built his own record label with a website with fake bands on it. He had his own promotions company in order to get the gig. He even bought some tickets. He faked his own YouTube channel where he's actually faking crowds. I mean, the detail that this guy went into was off the chart unreal, which is why it's hit the national press. In fact, it's hit the international press, because since then he's actually had to take all his Facebook down because he's embarrassed. What happened was he came across to the UK to actually do the gigs, and because the entire thing was fake, it was all set up as a fake to be able to go and do this tour. When it came to selling tickets in some really good, good venues over in the UK, we're talking like quality venues, nobody turned up. And when I say nobody, I don't mean, oh, the usual, no one turns up to gigs. I mean, literally, they sold 2, maybe 3 tickets. One of the gigs was pulled. No tickets were sold. He basically promised that 200 plus people had bought tickets and they were coming to the show. Literally nobody. And so he paid a lot of money to do this. This was not something that you could knock together in a month. Now, there's a lot of press about this and there's a lot of people. I don't want to go into the rights and wrongs because it's obvious. You guys know that that's a dumb thing to do. What I like to take an angle of is something slightly different, which is this is born out of absolute desperation. You don't do this, all of this stuff, unless you're so desperate to succeed and you're trying to find any way that you can get into the music industry. This is a form of mental health, that you're so desperate to try and fool anybody, to just fake it until you make it and just keep plowing money and your time into doing this. Is it dumb? Yes, but where was it born from? This for me is a big problem, that people are becoming so out and out desperate whilst at the same time not understanding how to break into the music industry. They haven't got good enough mentors. They haven't got quality control. They haven't got the right education and background to learn how to do it, coupled with the fact that they're not patient enough to make this work. This is a big deal to me, because this goes past just a stupid decision. This is someone who really, really wants something and has put a shit ton of time, effort and money into doing it. Yes, he's done it the wrong way, but to me, I can see where this has come from. I can see someone being so desperate to do something that he just thought this was the right thing to do, and it has backfired in his face. But there's a lot of people out there who are desperate to do this. And at the moment, that's where this noise comes in. Everybody wants it and everyone's looking around going, yeah, but I really, really want this. This is something I work towards. You go and listen to this guy's music. I did a little bit of research on this. You go and check out this guy's music. This guy's not bad. This guy's a good musician. He is a solid guitar, really solid guitarist. He's been in bands for a long time. He obviously just thought this was a way to do it. I just think this is indicative of, you know, everyone's absolutely giving him a kick in for doing it, but this is indicative to me of the education for musicians and bands not being strong enough, not being good enough. And because there are these options to do this, you can just go and buy followers. And you know, people, you go and listen to social media people and they say numbers don't matter. Well, this proves that numbers do matter at the same point as they don't, because yes, it didn't matter, he didn't sell tickets, but it mattered because all of the people who are now putting the boot in, they believed it. They absolutely believed it. Otherwise, they wouldn't have gone along with this ruse. They wouldn't have let him book it. They wouldn't have, you know, he wouldn't have had the press that he got to be able to do it. Numbers matter. When you turn up and you just say, oh, I've got 100,000 followers on YouTube, they go, really? That's incredible. They didn't ask how you got them. They just went, wow, that's really, really amazing. So numbers do matter in a lot of respects, but you know, it's a kudos thing, and it's people's mental health that we're dealing with, because if they don't feel like they're getting the likes, if they don't feel like they're getting the shares, if they don't feel like they're getting the engagement, that's when people are starting to struggle and do stupid things and getting desperate. So my take on this is, I find this really sad, because I think this is indicative. I think there's going to be more of these type people out there that just haven't been caught because they didn't take it to that extreme. I think we all know people that have bought followers. You know, I won't name any names, but I know people on the scene that are doing big ass social media stuff. Morgan's grinning, who have faked it. But they have faked it till they make it, but they have faked it. And like, when you actually go delving down, when you actually start delving down into their shit, you're like, fucker, he's totally faked this. And now he's kind of got to where he wants to be and it's working. So it does work from time to time. So I think it's really sad. I think this to me is another element of music education and how we should be supporting young people of what they need to know, not just being a technical player, but how they're going to break into the industry of today, because it's so different to where it used to be. So yeah, that's my thoughts. Thanks for watching. If you've got any questions, every Tuesday we'll put out on Instagram a #AskDamo story, and you can just ask questions. Could be featured on the show. If you've got any merch, send it through. The address will be in the video. Otherwise, like, subscribe. Most importantly though, come and be a part of this community. Come and actually have a chat, send some DMs, send some comments, get involved, because we're doing this every day. Otherwise, I will see you tomorrow. Cheers.